Hello, beautiful people. So, today we are going to go over our node management and how that works in depth within Godot 4. We started our stream and our recording session earlier this morning, but I guess halfway through I lost video. So, I had about 3 hours of audio, and that the video didn't come through on the later half of the video. So we're going to do a quick brief overview of what we went through, maybe try and recreate some of it, and then move on to our next step. I'm going to kind of try and breeze through this a little bit as I've already done it, but for those viewing at home, it might be good, some good information for you to take a look at. So we started our session with Hello, Professor G. Today we're going to be focusing on nodes, node management, and diving deep into each node, as well as their properties. I would still like a quiz and a challenge at the end of each section. Before we begin, I would like you to describe how we can best respond in order to better this learning session. So we broke it down this way. We gave it our actual purpose and theme for today. Then we wanted to reiterate the quiz and challenges from our earlier sessions. I've been liking the format of that. It's helping me critically think about the process instead of just copy pasting through and looking through. I'm actually trying to make the logical decisions. I mean, they're not the best, but it's actually forcing me to think about what's going on with the learning and not just memory dumping it afterwards. And then finally, I like to state, I wanted to ask it how we should best respond. If it has a certain format it kind of wants to use, or it had, essentially this allows me to think about what kind of context I should be giving it and actually help me. Let's turn this music down just a little bit here. Okay, so here is the format that it was going to kind of, or that's how I should be engaging in this session. Should be thinking actively about what's going on, ask why and how things work. If it doesn't click with me, why doesn't it work? Why isn't it clicking? Attention to detail. This is something we gave it in our prior lesson. As far as my tendency to overlook the small details. So do this with your learning sessions as well. Tell whichever AI you're using, language model, ChatGPT, tell it kind of what's going on, what's happening, and it can at least pick up on those key faults of yours. It's not 100% perfect, but at least it can help you pick up on things that you might be lacking. This helps me learn significantly faster. So it's a little bit of a crutch. If I'm messing up with some attention to detail, it reminds me. To code along, open Godot and try modifying the nodes as we discuss them. That's something we went through as well. As you can see, after extensive trial and error, and this is something we'll kind of touch base on as well. Extensive trial and error, we eventually ended up putting together our scenes, or creating we'll get deeper into it, but creating some scene or creating some nodes without actually having to add a child node, create it through that way, but actually code out creation of new nodes and creation of different hierarchies with those nodes. So that for me was very fascinating. I didn't realize that you can kind of manually do this versus just adding the node 2D, or I'm sorry, adding a node and switching up the hierarchy. So that was very interesting. We'll get more into that here in a little bit. I wanted to discuss specifically each node within Godot 4, at least get a brief overview so I'd understand what they were all doing. Get the music down just a little bit more too. So I'd know, at least understand what they were doing. If you guys would like, I can save these conversations and post them if that's something you'd be open to, so you don't have to read through every little bit here. You can kind of copy paste them from a document that I give. So let me know if that's something you'd be open to. As a quick brief overview, it broke it down into seed organization nodes. Our basic node is just the node. That is the base class for everything. Node 2D is going to be for 2D games, providing positioning, rotation, and scaling. Node 3D, a node for 3D games, offering spatial transformations. Canvas item is our rendering visual nodes. It's basically the renderer. Control is going to be for our base UI elements with layout and input handling. Okie doke. Then we went on to our second, the rendering and visual nodes. So for 2D rendering, we have Sprite 2D, which displays a 2D texture. That would be, in this case, let me run this bad boy here. This would be our actual texture. Now the code behind it wouldn't be considered the texture of the sprite, but for this instance, this is our 2D texture. Okay. Animated Sprite 2D, we haven't dug into this yet. For the first session, we essentially went over these big things here. Animated Sprite 2D plays animations from a sprite sheet. This would be fun to play with. Polygon 2D, a custom drawn polygon, line 2D, multi-point that can be styled, 9-patch rect, resizable 9-patch texture. Tile map, it's simple enough to understand, manages a grid of tiles for a 2D level design, parallax background, and parallax layer. We haven't played with this yet, but it would be interesting to see how it would be, or exactly what it would do. I'm assuming it'd be just, if you're scrolling with parallax, kind of distorts the view a little bit as you're scrolling up and down. For some web development stuff, I've used a parallax effect before. I'm assuming it's kind of the same. 3D rendering, mesh instance 3D, displays 3D mesh. I'm not going to get super in depth into all of these descriptions. Like I said, if you'd like, I can send this out for you, or you can look them up yourself. I was just doing this as part of my learning process earlier. We went through it earlier, and I might post the first half of that video just to have this, but it may be kind of a waste of time for everybody at home. Sprite 3D, a 3D sprite, billboarded or fixed. Decal, a texture applied dynamically on the surfaces, GPU particles, particle effects using GPU acceleration. Same thing with CPU, multi-mesh instance 3D, optimized instancing of multiple 3D meshes, and then fog volume simulates volumetric fog. Our physics bodies, very simple to understand. Static body is going to be non-moving physics objects. So if you want an interactable chest or something that the player discovers their legendary sword from, that is what you would use. Now, a rigid body is a object that can be affected by said physics. So my best analogy from my understanding would be, if you played Pokemon in the past and you have the boulders that you can move with strength, or the HM strength, then that would be kind of analogous to this for me. I'm assuming it works similarly, but that's how I work it out in my head. Our character body is going to be the actual physics body for the characters with movement helpers. Vehicle body is the same, but for vehicles. So your character is always going to need a collision shape. Your rigid body is going to need a collision shape, and your static body is going to need a collision shape. So just because you have the body here doesn't mean it has any actual collision physics. So you can have a body, but it won't actually interact or bump into anything if you don't set up some collision shapes. Collision shapes can be defined, or defines a shape for physics collisions. You can change the actual shape, rectangular, circular. We'll look at it here in the GPU. I'm sorry, the IDE real quick. So if we go to our original scene, I didn't have anything created in here, so we'll just do add child node. Where is it? What am I doing? Collision. You can do your collision shape here, and you can choose different shapes. Circle, separation, segments, world boundary, rectangle, capsule. You have a few different shapes for your objects there. And I'm assuming polygon is going to be, we haven't played with the polygonal collision, but I'm assuming that's going to be something we can almost draw in this sense. Let's just take a look while we're looking at it. Solid segments, yeah. So if you want to define your own collision, you can get that done there. Or if you want to customize your collision. So I'm assuming if you have this character sprite, for instance, if you want to get very, very in depth, Almost like if you were trying to cut it out for like in Photoshop, if you're trying to make a rendered version of it, you would cut it very very detailed. I'm sure that would be what this instance of the collision polygonal would be for. Okay, UI interface nodes. Some very intuitive for me, probably very intuitive for you if you've played any video games. Button, a clickable button, label displays text, rich text label, text label supporting BB code, line edit, a single line text input field, text edits, texture rect, displays the texture, HBox containers. So the idea of containers in this was it's very curious for me, or I'm very curious about it to say. I like the idea of being able to arrange my nodes, keep them in groups, at least for the UI. So if I want to have like, we can take our scene here for an example. This was just a mock health bar that we were working on, or health system. So if I wanted to have everything lined up a certain way, I could probably move them or interact with them within a container, horizontally, vertically. And I would assume our grid container would be arranges child nodes in a grid. Yeah. So I could probably set them up and down, left and right, gridded out, and they all move together. I could be wrong, but we'll probably end up digging into this in later sessions. Our session this morning that we went over was primarily scene organizations, and or I'll call these our sections, actually. It was our scene organization, and we spent a couple hours doing that, getting into the quiz. Once we've kind of dug a little bit more into it, we'll go further, and you'll see as we get down. Audio nodes, we haven't even touched audio yet. I'm kind of holding off. I love sound. I love sound design. I'm terrible at it. I don't pretend to know anything about it, but I do love audio and just about anything I do. I love music. It's huge for me. So I'm going to be very excited to get to this, but I'm probably going to wait till after we get games made to really dig into it in at least our dev sessions that we're doing for the Obsidian Mantle. But for the sake of learning as we go through, we'll definitely be touching on this. I just don't want to waste too much time on, trying to design sounds or figure out sounds. I want to learn how to use the nodes, how to get that done, but I don't want to spend too much time actually coding it in yet. Scripting and logic nodes, we haven't touched any of these. So our animation player controls animations, animation tree manages complex animation state machines. So I'm guessing this is really interesting to me. So I'm guessing I can have like a set state for our animations, and our animation tree will kind of branch off of so if I want a section where it's got a walking animation, it would animation tree at the top. At the top, I don't have a good visual for it, but the top might be idle, then it kind of branches into attack animation, things like that, without having to be all under the same code or same hierarchy. That's kind of how I'm interpreting that. I could be very wrong, and my interpretation is probably very crude, but we'll get to it. Tween interpolates values over time. Timer fires a signal after a set time. Path 2D and 3D defines a path for movement. I believe a lot of this is, for, if you're doing a little cutscene, or if you want a path for enemy AI, I'm assuming that would be partial to it as well. Path follow 2D moves objects along a path. Visibility notifier detects when objects enter and exit the camera view. Okay. Navigation and AI nodes. This is a lot of kind of similar to what we were talking about here with the pathfinding. So navigation region defines walkable areas. Navigation agent handles AI movement along navigation paths. Also, I want to make sure we are just still recording and streaming, as I would be very distraught if we ended up losing it again. Navigation obstacle, 2D and 3D. An obstacle that affects pathfinding. Navigation polygon, it's probably drawn as well, or it's, you can customize the pathfinding a little bit more as far as not a set defined shape. I could be wrong about that as well, but occluder optimizes rendering by hiding objects behind others. The way I was rushed or kind of inferencing this is if I have a cave per instance. And I don't really want the players to go in. It's there for more aesthetics, but I want something to come out of the cave. You have a bear, something coming out of the cave, something big and imposing. Instead of having to use other space in the scene, I could probably just use this for occlusion and hide the bear inside the cave or quote unquote behind the cave for at least for 3D. I could be wrong as well. A lot of this is me learning also, and I hope you're learning along with me too. But I believe this is what it can be. And if you guys know the answers to these questions that I'm having, drop them in the comments. I'm super open to anybody that is knowledgeable or anybody that is going through a similar process and they know these things that I don't and that I'm learning. And we're all here to help each other. So I'm very open to you helping me out. If I'm saying something that's incorrect, and I'm likely saying all of this is probably incorrect or not a proper explanation, just let me know. Let me know. I'm super open to criticisms as well. Let me know what you're thinking, and just try not to beat me up too much. Try not to beat me up too much. We're having fun with this, and I hope you're having fun also. Okay. Navigation and AI nodes. Yeah, here comes a lot of the path navigation. The pathfinding handles enemy AI movement. We just went through that. Networking and multiplayer nodes. We won't be touching this for the Obsidian Mantle. It'll likely be just a single player game. But I do want to learn how I would set up a multiplayer system, or do like a local multiplayer would be cool. So we have our multiplayer spawner, multiplayer synchronizer, synchronizes properties, network multiplayer peer handles networking connections, WebSocket server, WebSocket client, UDP-S server, and HTTP request. Miscellaneous utility nodes. This is our camera here. Simple to understand. Remote transformations, syncs transformations between nodes. I'm guessing if your character has to rotate for some reason and you want the world to rotate with them, like camera panning almost, this is where you would use that. Lighting effects, world environment configures global environment settings. I am curious about this. What would your global environment setting even be? Are we talking rain? Are we talking just the way the physics acts in the world? Things like that. I'm not sure. Sky, very simple. Viewport renders content inside the sub viewport. This is our viewport. I'm not sure what a sub viewport would be, but we'll get to that. Instance placeholder, a placeholder for dynamically instance nodes. Seems simple enough. Graph edit, graph node, used for creating visual graphs like skill trees. This will be very fun, I think. I like skill trees. So we're going to try to make the Obsidian Mantle have a skill-based progression system versus the typical just linear leveling. I would like to really focus on leveling skills in that game, or if he's an axe wielder, he's going through axe, he's leveling axes by using axes, by doing things to level his axe skill. So we'll see how that works. I say his, but it could be his or her for the character also. It's not very too big a deal. I want our character to be ambiguous as possible. Okay, so that was just a quick list. We did the list just to kind of get a base reference, build some foundation of our vernacular and our vocabulary. So if we see something, we're not completely confused about what it is and what it does. Next, let us start with our scene organization nodes. Going forward, I would like you to keep your tone as motivational but harsh in the scholarly sense. So I noticed it did not keep its tone from yesterday in any of this explanation. Our tone yesterday was kind of drill sergeant-y, snarky, but helpful and motivational. So I wanted to keep that. It gives me a little bit of a laugh, and I think the analogies it ends up using are better for me when I change its tone in certain ways. Base ChatGPT isn't very analogous with things, or at least the analogies don't really work for me. So when I change up the tone, it gives me some good analogies. So like instantly, like we asked the tone, and it instantly gave us a decent analogy or a little funny snippet. If you don't master scene organization, you will create an unmanageable mess of spaghetti notes. See, that's easy for me to understand, and likely for you to understand as well. So where did we go? Okay, So here is where we actually began digging into the nodes and what they do. So our base node here, the absolute base class, which can be found, let's delete, just so you see at home. Let me make sure that this is our unsaved, don't save. Excellent. So you can create your scene based off of whichever root node you'd like. It gives you kind of your basic ones to start, 2D, 3D user interface, and you can customize further to have a root node as the base of your scene of anything. Now this is node, this is our overall node for everything that ends up going through. And we wanted to really dig into some more about each of these nodes here and kind of start learning. So the node by itself is the absolute, this is the progenitor, the blueprint. Every single node in Godot inherits from this node. So it manages our scene trees, signals, and properties. Here it gives us a few, let's do this so we can all see here. Okay. Bear with me for one moment. We'll eventually get our double monitor set up to help with this significantly. So it breaks down some key properties. It doesn't go through every single one, which is fine. We don't need to really memorize everything about each property just yet. We really just want to figure out what each node does. So we can expand all this. This is talking about our name, our node here. Owner, determine scene ownership, crucial for instancing, very good. Then we go process mode. And I am kind of speeding through this because I am very excited to get to the next section. I just want you at home to kind of see how this process works in case you'd like to do it for yourself, you know. In case really with learning anything. For me, this has been a great way to learn all kinds of stuff. You know, if you want to learn how to play basketball, obviously you can't learn everything from AI or ChatGPT, but it can break down terminologies, it can break down actual workflows for you. It's just a little simpler than maybe listening to somebody else or trying to do extra research on your own. Still do all the above, but I don't know why. For me, this is just so smooth as far as learning. I can tailor my own learning session. I guess that's the way I like to explain it. I'm no teacher, but I know what I need to do to learn. I know I don't need to cut corners, things like that. So this is helping me out a lot, but we will kind of speed through this first little bit here. So our process mode controls when the node process is always paused, disabled, inherited. This is here. Key methods. So we were quite confused with key methods. You know, I was pondering, as key methods talking about other actual properties of the node, or this root node here, or is this actual calls and GDScript? So we kept going a little bit. This is talking our use case. Pretty simple to understand. We were going through all these, and I was still quite confused. So we asked it to, before we continue, can you tell me exactly how you're structuring each section? For instance, with the node, the absolute base class, I don't know if you're referring to script or different panels in the ID, just as I just discussed. So it rehashes. Great question. So then it rehashes kind of what it's talking about. If you get confused with the information it's spitting, ask it what information it is providing to you. Ask it how it's providing to it. Ask it the reasoning for its provision of the information. You know, if you do that, you can get significantly more clarification if you do get confused. And what we did end up deducing is it's kind of a both instances. In some cases, it was referring to actual properties as methods of doing things, and actual calls to, you know, actual script knowledge as well. But then it did give me some of this, the reasoning why it is. Let's go up to, let's just go to our purpose. It's giving me some questions to ask about purpose, which is quite interesting for me. I didn't really it didn't really dawn on me as much. I was doing it kind of inherently, but for instance, I usually ask when should I use this? I try and find analogies or try and create my own reasoning for why this node would be used. What kind of problem this node solves. These kind of go together. But I wasn't thinking about how they interact with other nodes at all. I was thinking of each of these nodes as completely singular, independent beings in this IDE, right? So when it kind of gave me this here, I was like, wow, that's a great bit of insight. It's not something you're actually thinking about, or I was actually thinking about. So I started kind of trying to think how these nodes interact with each other. Then it's going to give us some more key properties, examples. This is pretty simple. It's going to go over some key methods, things to that effect. And then it broke down its quizzing, its challenges, and how we can actually follow along. Okay, so let's go back through the course with our new knowledge that we gained and kind of see what we can do here. So our add child, we used add child quite a lot later in. So add child is actually adding the child node, or adding it as a child of a higher node in the hierarchy, or whatever node you want to make it a child of, within your script here. So for instance, we created a variable, and we'll go over this here in a little bit more, but we created the variable player, and we wanted to add player to our main node here. And that we accomplished with our add child into the node. Remove child would be the same. I don't want to get too much into what the code is just yet, because we get into it further in the session. Get child would be retrieving the child by index. We didn't use this, so I was curious to see what it means. I'm guessing if you have like a set array maybe, or something that gets indexed as an integer, it can just kind of pull that child node without you having to recreate the child node. I could be wrong, but we shall see. Get tree, access the global scene tree. So likely the purpose for both of these is to aid in the efficiency process, so you don't have to recreate a whole scene, or you don't have to recreate a whole node or a whole child instance, child node, and you can kind of just call it to the section of code you're working on without having to recreate it. Our 2D nodes, 2D node for all things 2D. You're building a 2D game, then the node 2D is your battlefield. This is the foundation of all 2D entities. So our 2D node, a simple breakdown from what I've gathered, is it's what's the best way to explain it? Its purpose is adding positioning, rotation, and scaling to 2D space. So let's go to our 2D here. Or actually, let's look at the script for a second, because we can kind of extrapolate a little bit of information. Where did we go? So we created our shape and size. Boom. So we're working within a 2D node here. These are the things that we're really working on with our 2D node. So we worked our position right here, our size, our position I believe is a little lower. We did some positioning with our vector of a health bar down here as well, and then our Z index determines the order in which it's rendered. So your 2D node, anything that's just having to deal with that exact 2D instance you're working with is dealing with it. And here are some other key calls that you can use. This isn't the list of every single one, but I think it's just giving some as a brief example. It's not digging too deep. And node 3D is very similar. So you get your same position, size, and scale. Obviously, it would be for 3D. Your translate, rotate, and look at. So it's essentially the same kind of vibe as our 2D, but with 3D application. Canvas items, the hidden architect of 2D visuals. If node 2D is the structure, canvas item is the renderer. Every 2D drawn object inherits from this. So we can change our different visibilities of the node, determines if it's drawn or not within the scene. Modulate, applies a color tint, and self-modulate, affects only this node and its children. So I was very curious about when I saw the modulation property under the canvas item. What is it? What is it doing? And then I saw self-modulate as well, and it very much so confused me. So your modulation is adding a color tint to the node, and your self-modulation is making sure it is only on that node. It's not affecting any node in the hierarchy lower or any child node underneath that node. We haven't used this, and we haven't figured out any proper application for it yet. But like for instance, if I have a character body, if it applies the tint, or if I'm working on a character, if it applies the tint, does it actually change the character model color a little bit? If it adds something that way, we haven't actually implemented, so I'm not sure. And here are some key methods as well. Control for UI and layout management. UI needs order. Control provides it. Without this node, your AI or your UI elements will behave like rebellious children. This is quite funny for me. Purpose manages UI scaling, anchoring, and interactions. So we can anchor with our properties for the control there, and we'll look at this here in a minute because some of these were part of our quiz questions. And our key methods is grab focus, set anchor offset. Like I said, there's a whole lot more calls and a ton more things to do, but seeing this, like this is the first time after what 10 out we've been messing with Godot for probably a little over 10 hours over the last few weeks. It's likely a whole lot more, but let's just say for the sake of the argument, we haven't even seen grab focus yet. Okay, so now we get to our quiz here. This was very good for me. I'm not sure exactly why, but as far as its phrasing and as far as its I think it's trying to pick up on key attention to detail stuff for me because I've given it that context a few times, and you'll see down in my answers exactly what happened here. So our first question is, what is the fundamental difference between Node 2D and a canvas item? Oh, that's correct. I wanted to got me a little confused for a second here. We had a question to ask before this is when we were actually about how he structures each section, okay? And then we moved on to the quiz. Okay. So for the first answer of our quiz, our Node 2D is the structure, canvas item is the layer. Oh yeah, Node 2D is the structure, and canvas item or canvas layer is the renderer. And that was a correct answer. Very good. Second question, sorry for having to go up here, but what node type should I use for a 3D enemy that needs movement? That should be simple enough. 3D. Oh, I'm sorry, node 3D. Number 3 here. There's our self-modulation. What property of control determines how it resizes within a container? This question here is where the attention to detail for me came into play. I remembered which of I remembered it was in it's in something within our inspector panel to a sense, but I just couldn't remember which one it was. So I got partial credit for my answer. I gave the answer of it is within the transform panel of the inspector. I believe it is either scale or size. So these two were completely wrong, but where to find it, I was correct. So it gave me a little bit of a partial credit. Partially credit, you mentioned the size or scale in the transform panel, but UI resizing is actually controlled by size flags. And as I was going through the original lesson here, I totally overlooked this, and that was it was right in front of my face up here at the beginning. Size flags, and I just wasn't paying attention. So make sure you're paying attention as you're going through and learning the process. You're likely you've already looked at the info and it's just not getting drilled into your head a little bit. So definitely use quizzes if you're using any kind of ChatGPT to learn or any kind of AI to learn. Or you might just be significantly smarter than I am, and I hope that is the case because we have a different learning. I don't know. I learn things much differently. But once I have it locked in, it is locked. Okay. The next question was simple. It was a basic what node to use if you're trying to mix 2D and 3D nodes. So the node that is the overall of them all is our regular node. So that was it. And our scene tree right here, I had no clue. I could not remember the get tree, and I was honest and upfront. I do not remember. Please give me a grade and a reason for said grade. Keep the grading format for each quiz going forward. I like this grading format. I like how it told me what I got correct, why I got it correct, what I got wrong, why I got it wrong, and how it gave me some kind of partial credit here. Okay. And then it gave some improvement plans. We don't need to go too deep into that, but that is not a huge deal. And then we started moving on to our challenge section of the, let me make sure we're still recording and streaming. Okay. Then we moved on to our challenge section of our quiz here, or the challenge of our section, I should say. Also, as I'm talking through a lot of my learning process, you know, it's almost like I've got to split, my brain is kind of split into two. I'm trying to verbalize my thoughts as I'm thinking them. So things can come out a little weird. I might stutter a little bit. I might kind of try and figure out different ways to use words because I'm critically thinking about how to solve the problem while also trying to explain it out loud with something I have never done before in code and in anything. You know, or just life in general. So bear with me on that. I will get better as I get better with Godot, but this is a practice. You know, I'm learning how to do this as well, and I'm learning how to talk through the process to hopefully help you better. I don't claim to be an expert, so we will, however, get better. We will, however, get better. So it started going over the challenge, and the big thing I knew immediately, and the big issue that was screaming at me from the beginning is it wanted me to actually write the GDScript to implement creating a scene hierarchy and building onto things. At first, I was like, "Wow, that's very interesting," but I don't know code. I can memorize what function ready means, but I really don't know how to actually implement code, right? And this is what it wanted us to do. It wanted us to create this scene, the scene tree. The player must be instantated. I'm not sure. I'm definitely beating it up. But it must be brought into the scene dynamically. That's essentially what it's saying. I just can't say the word. The player must be brought into the scene dynamically in a script, not manually added in the editor. So that's what our function ready does. I remembered function ready, and at that point, that's what I had typed, and then from there, I had no idea. So the player sprite 2D must load a placeholder texture. Player's collision shape must use a rectangle shape. Health bar must be initialized with the value of 100, and the script must be attached to the main. Conceptually, I understand this. To actually implement and use, I was very confused. So what I did go back and do is I changed up the challenge format a little bit. I said, I do not have enough knowledge to write the script. Is there something we can do to assist this challenge? And immediately, I didn't even really know how I wanted to steer the context from here, but I love the new format that came through. Since you don't yet have knowledge to write script from scratch, I'll guide you through step by step. But be warned, I will just hand you the answer. You'll have to think about it and write. So I will explain each step in a structured way. You will attempt the code for each part. I will correct and refine your attempt. By the end, you will have a complete working script and the knowledge to build similar structures in the future. Okay. When we got here is when we started actually writing out some of this code. But I wanted to do it as best as I could from memory, or even if I didn't know what I was doing, I wanted to attempt it. So this bit of code took me probably an hour and a half to build through. I didn't want to refer to it. I wanted to look through some of the debugging. I wish I had that video, at least even for myself to refer back to see how I was thinking about things at the time. But if you're doing something like this, try to implement the code, even if you don't know the code. Like for instance, our player sprite dot texture here. I had no idea how to get the dot texture in. I didn't even know it existed, right? But I played around with 100 different ways, you know, to try and figure it out. Obviously, I still failed. But what it did allow me to do was realize certain things work, certain things don't. And like I said, I wish I had that video so I can kind of go back and recall. But then we ended up kind of figuring some things out as well. You know, in the beginning, I've remembered how to do a variable from our previous. So I actually created the function get variable. I added our child. Here is where we ended up with our first issue. You know, I knew we had to call back to our variable, but I wasn't sure our dot position or our vector call right here. You know, or vector. I don't know how that would, what the terminology that would be, but our property, our vector property, I guess is how I want to say that. I wasn't even this line is where we really got beat up, right? So my code of originally was like vector underscore position, you know, or a player underscore position, quote unquote integer. You know, I was trying to do all kinds of different things and then do a trial and error situation. That didn't work, but I felt like I was working through that process. So let's get down into it. So in our step one, it wanted us to create the node. I'm sorry, it wanted us to create or select our main node, attach a script, name it main, and get to it. And then kind of get the scene set up. And every time I finished my code, even if it was incorrect, or you know, if I hit the stop, I finally sent it to it. So I sent it as well, and it said, okay, you're good to go. Now we needed to create the player node. So what we're doing here, if you're kind of still confused, is creating our scene from scratch without using our scene editor right here, without touching a bit of this. So when the scene starts and it initializes, it creates all of the different nodes we needed it to. It gives them properties without actually having other nodes in the scene tree or hierarchy, right? So to look, I'll try and run through my best explanation of all this code as I'm going through. It's going to help me understand what I'm writing, and hopefully it's a simplified version for you at home that's not too over your head. So extends node is extending functionality to our node 2D here. Function ready. Our function underscore ready is going to be the it's going to essentially it's calling it into the scene. So it's going to run the second the scene starts, but it's only going to run once. So this the entirety of this function here. So sorry here. The entirety of this function here gets ran the second the scene starts. That's what our function ready is. And as I said, it only runs it one time. So I'm still curious to see if, you know, if we wanted to run something similar, if we'd have to do another function ready later down the line. Or if we keep it under one large function ready code branch. Okay. And then we got on to the next, I sent it through here. Okay. So now we needed to create and I did as I was scrolling through, just to help myself before it gave the code, I would stop right before our code. I go, oh, and scroll back up and just kind of stick to the step here and see what I could do based on this description. You know, I knew in the past how to create a character body 2D from our scene editor, but actually implementing it was crazy. So I knew I had to create a variable, so we created the variable player, and right here is where we got confused. I got as far as, you know, typing out character body a couple times after equals. We had this happen. We had this happen where it kind of gave us our base new instances, or kind of gave us some suggestions of where to go next. And I went in and I was like, oh yeah, wham bam, thank you ma'am. And I got, or it actually it ended up going through, but I ended up getting some errors somewhere else if I remember correctly. I don't want to scroll down just yet. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter. Yeah, actually, as you can see here, this was the issue we ended up having. We were stuck. We couldn't figure it out. I got as far as character body.new, and I didn't realize you have to have parentheses after every new. So we worked through the process. I mean, it took 10, 15 minutes just to figure this line of code out here. We worked through the process, but I could not get it to work. And it was something as simple as having our parentheses. And did I just manage Control Z out of here real quick? Yeah, character body done it. Okay. Then we need to add our player variable to our main node here. And that was done by add child parentheses into player. Player position, like I said earlier, we got stuck on as well. So I ended up, yes, as I remember, I ended up referring back to kind of try and figure out how to get our player position. This was rough, so rough for me. And this was the code it gave. And obviously it said we were missing our parentheses here, gave me the fixed version. I typed our fixed version in, sent it back, and we got it done. So player position, vector 100 to 200, this is setting the position of our player variable or our player character body to a vector of 100 to 200, positionally speaking. We were trying to copy through some of the comments to get used to it, and then I just kind of forgot and got locked in. So then we started typing it in here. So now we needed to add the sprite. Once I realized how to bring the character body to the end, I figured, well, we can probably do the same with sprite and bring it in here. Where I started messing up was specification of where the players are going, or where the variables are trying to be added into or where the sprite is specifically trying to be added in the hierarchy. Since it's not visual for me, I have a bad time of learning with my imagination. I'm a very visual, very hands-on, very right in front of my face. So I was just so confused as to how to get this to go. So we played around with a ton of different options, or a ton of different things, and we finally gave up after 10-15 minutes, and then it told us. So our first bit of code for that was here. Was that it? Hold on, I want to make sure we're doing everything properly. No. First bit of code, yeah, there's a vector. Okay. So this bit here, it just would have never happened for me in a million years. I didn't know about sprite.texture and loading that at the time. There wasn't any other reference to that before. So once I played and fumbled a little bit, I knew that it's just not going to happen. So I ended up typing all this stuff out, and I still ended up getting errors. Or no, I think I ended up getting that. My errors were here. Our texture path was messed up. I'm just trying to show you this to see what kind of errors you'll probably run into, or things that will happen for you. We kept going through. We started creating our collision shapes. I don't want to read this line by line because it's going to take up a ton of time. I can go through it in another instance if you'd like, or do something to that effect. Suffice to say, this process was wonderful for me. I locked in. I was able to figure out exactly what needed to be done. Going back, I could probably get, let's say 60%, 70% of this done from memory. A lot of the more specifics, I probably would mess up, but that's where we can refer back to ChatGPT if we need, or just keep testing. A lot of these values down here for our health bar, a lot of these values, and I'm not sure what the nomenclature for this different color highlight is. I can probably check, but obviously it's for our properties. Trying to figure out how to add these properties in was so rough for me. I could not, I didn't know I needed a period in front. I was doing things like equals position, underscore position, then we did the dot, and then bam, we started getting somewhere, So we ended up running through, and this was our final evaluation. Boom, proper use of the script, attention to detail, understanding the node relationships, efficiency, and debugging. So my debugging and my actual efficiency was not too great. I kept retyping and doing things improperly and correctly. And that's okay. I'm a trial and error kind of guy. I will do it 100, 1,000 times to actually figure out what needs to be done. Need to get a little bit of water here. So I'll try it about 1,000 different times to see what needs to be done. If I fail 999 times and get it on the 1,000th time, we're doing good. You know, eventually that process always gets more efficient. You start learning to do it better. But we were feeling really good off of that last session, problem solving, actually getting things done. So our continuation of this morning's session is where we're going to pick up here. And we will see exactly where we left off. So we can dig further into building a structured 2D scene. I don't really want to extend the challenge. The big learning key point for today was going through each of our nodes, which is what we exactly want to do. So what we're going to do now is continue further into another node category. Very good. So our initial, just for a recap for everyone, was the scene organization nodes, such as control, I can't find exactly the spot, control node, node 2D, node 3D, canvas layer, I believe was the other, and our base node itself. Now we're going to get into our physics nodes, which I'm very excited for this. Okay. Physics nodes simulate real-world movement, gravity, and collisions. In Godot, they are divided into 3 main types: our static body, our rigid body, falling objects, physics-based movement, walls, ground, obstacles. Okay. You know, you don't really think about wall. I keep making it when it's saying physics objects, I was in my head I'm thinking, like I said earlier, chests, things like that, but it's environmental as well. So it's your walls, your ground, your obstacles you're moving and jumping over and under. Rigid body, things with physics-based movement, falling objects. Character body, simple enough, players, enemies, NPCs, and our collision shapes, which is defined through specific. Okay. Static body 2D, the immovable object. It won't move on its own. It can collide with other objects, but it also remains fixed. It's used for our walls, platforms, and other solid objects. So, I wonder, I'm going to kind of look a little forward, not to, okay. I just wanted to see whether or not we would be needing this soon if it kept that context, but I don't think we are. So we shall start working off of soon here. Okay. Static body 2D, the immovable object, we went through our key properties. Let's actually make a note here. Or, no, well, yeah, let's make a note here. Character body, static body. So I don't actually need our character body. Okay. So the key properties we'll take a look at: constant linear. So open these up. Constant linear right here. The body's constant linear velocity that does not move to the body, but affects touching bodies as if it were moving. Okay. Makes the body move at a set speed. And our physics material override allows friction and bounce control. Would it be further down? Material? Is that what it's asking? I don't see override, but I don't see override. It's probably staring me in the face, but we can kind of understand what the property would be. Example use case, variable wall. So let's just kind of start making a base script, because we're going to have to make one eventually anyway. Attach a script, static body 2D. let's just kind of see what we got. Variable equals variable wall equals new. No, we need our parentheses. Add our child. Is it capitalization yet? Body dot new, and then our parentheses. Okay. Obviously, there's an error, but we haven't actually defined. Or we don't have a function. So if we had like func a function underscore ready, we'll likely clear this bad boy up a little bit. Did I do ready incorrectly again? Let's use colon probably. Is it parentheses colon? Oh, do I need an indentation here? No? What is going on? And this is why we practice. I wonder if that's fine for now. We'll dig into that in a minute. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, it's just giving us the use case example. Static body 2D done new, parentheses, variable wall, add underscore child wall. But I guess I don't have. I haven't actually added. Maybe I'd have to add it to main. No, this would be adding it to the main because we haven't specified anything else. That's okay. Hold on. No, it is not okay. I want to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Function underscore ready. I wonder if this. Just curious here. I am curious. I wonder if it's trying to attach it. Yeah, did I attach it to the right guy? Nope. Variable wall. I wonder if it was an indentation issue. Did I not have the parentheses prior? Can I control Z and C? Yeah. What's the difference? I don't know. Oh, it wasn't indented. That's what it was. It needed to be it was indentation. Okay. So I don't need this anymore. It was the indentation. See? Before, I would not have had any idea what it would have been, but at least we were kind of able to extrapolate what it was, even though it took us probably too long to get there. Okay, rigid body 2D. Let's get back to our lesson. Rigid body 2D, the physics-driven object moves using real-world physics, gravity forces, and impulses. Okay, not manually controlled, it reacts to the environment. Used for dynamic objects like rolling balls, falling crates. Key properties. Let's make a rigid body. So take a look at the properties here. Rigid body 2D. Expand. Let's take a look at some of our properties. Gravity scale. Yep. Gravity scale. Mass. So adjust how much gravity affects. It affects how force influences movement. So check to make sure we're still streaming and recording. Yes, we are. One thing we don't have actually is our Twitch chat up, so I can at least see what's going on if anybody is in the chat. It's not a huge deal, but I would like to actually interact with somebody if they don't want to just ignore the viewer. Okay. Here are going to be some of our implementations. Variable ball, so let's create a ball. Variable ball equals rigid body 2D. Now I just tabbed to get that to kind of autofill the rest. New parentheses. Ball dot gravity underscore scale equals 2.0. Ball, when you apply impulse. Ball. Impulse. So this is going to be a double parentheses. Vector 2. 200 comma minus 500. Okay. Add, now we need to add it to a child of the ball. So here we're setting our variable as, or we're describing our variable as ball as being rigid body 2. Or let me say that, I said it backwards. We're describing our rigid body 2 node as the variable ball. We are going to be giving this ball a scale, or the property of gravity scale, and we're setting it at 2. Same way with apply impulse. And the apply impulse pushes the body in a direction. So this is going to be pushing it how we want it to, and then we need to add ball to the, we need to add our rigid body to the main, to the ball here. I believe add child ball would be putting it to the main theme because we're not inherently specifying a different one. Add underscore child to ball. For instance, if I wanted to add this instead, I believe I would do, if I wanted to add this to say our wall variable, I would say add child, or maybe ball dot add child to wall, something like that. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's how it would go. I think we went over that a little bit in the last bit of session this morning, or the last section this morning. But for now, it's not a huge deal. We can't retain it all and everything, but the more we do this, the better we'll get. Okay, let's do the same for character body. Let's actually kind of read through these because I feel like they're going to be coming up in our grading and in our quizzes. So constant linear velocity of a static ball. Static body 2D, does not move on its own, can collide but remains fixed, used for walls and platforms. Constant linear velocity makes the body move at a set speed. Okay, Physics material override allows friction / bounce control. Physics material override. Physics bounce control. Constant linear velocity. Got it. Rigid body 2D. Moves using real-world physics, gravity, forces, impulses, not manually controlled. Used for dynamic objects like rolling balls, falling crates. Our gravity scale adjusts how much gravity affects the body, which I think this is this property here. Yep. So we're going to get a factor of 2, or we're going to set the property to 2. Mass is how much force influences the movement. Apply impulse, pushes it in a direction. Apply force, continually applies force. Cool. Character body 2D. Let's make character body 2D. Used for player and enemy movement. Handles sliding collisions and jumping smoothly. Easy. Does not use real-world physics. It's manually controlled. Okay, key properties is our velocity. Controls movement speed. I guess we can create one too, just to take a look at it. Okay, our properties are over here. Velocity. Velocity. I feel like I saw it the other day, but I'm not sure where it went. It's okay. Floor normal helps detect ground collisions. Floor normal. That'd be interesting to see how that works. Key movements. Move and slide. Moves while handling collisions. I'm guessing this is going to allow it to move or tell it to move and then deal with collisions as you hit them. I believe so. Okay. So let us just add this script into character body. Oop, I need to do that. Attach script. Oh, this is our old character body script we used. That's kind of cool. So I guess your scripts can be saved throughout your different sessions. So this is something we did for the game a little while ago when we were just kind of copy pasting out of ChatGPT to see what we can do actually. But for now, we don't really need any of the old code because we are learning it now. Since character body, function, underscore, physics, process, boom. Just create a quick float. Delta needs to be underscored. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. And this just needs to be delta, parentheses outside. Func underscore physics underscore process. Delta, or actually, I don't know if it's, is it like this? Not like this? I want to say that's the case. Are we getting another indentation situation? Expected indented block after function declaration. Is that like so? Or is it saying it's expecting this here? Probably. Let's set the velocity. Yeah, that's exactly what I was waiting for. So that's a good little error for me to see. If I just have the function code here, Godot is like, where is what is the thing we're trying to get to work under function? So velocity dot x equals 200. So x would be off of our axis here. So our x and y axes, you know, if you're looking, we have if we're going left, it's negative 100. If we're going right, it's in the positives. If we're going down, it's in the positives. If we're going up, it's in the negatives, just like a normal XY axis. Okay, so we want it to go right, which is positive 200. And then we're going to apply move and slide. So move and slide. Okay. So that was the quick physics test. So let's actually start answering the test here. Physics node quiz. All right, you guys can do this along with me if you'd like, based off kind of what you learned here. See if you know the answers. Which physics node should be used for a falling rock? Let's go ahead and start formatting. Rigid body. Rigid body 2D. Okay. Is that right? Hold on, let me think about it. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but let me think about the others. Static body doesn't move. Hold on. You might think this is cheating, but I just want to make sure I'm learning. Yeah, I'm right. It's rigid. Wanted to make sure there was really no other option. Okay. What is the main difference between rigid and character body? Defines. Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously, your character body is going to be everything interacting with the player or the character itself. I wonder how I should answer that. Should I just give the definition of both? Character body 2D. How do I want to do that? It is for processing of the character. I have a feeling it's wanting me to give a different explanation, but I really can't put into proper words without having to refer back. So we're just gonna do it like this. See what it grades me, which is absolutely fine. You know, it's we're not taking an actual exam here. I'm not super stressed and super, I don't want to do any of that right now. We're not working on a solid project right now. We're just learning. We're flowing. We're having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. Just kind of going through a process like this. Okay, so character body is the process of physics for a character, and rigid body 2D is for falling is for objects that can move. It's for objects that can move, i.e. I dot e falling crate. Okay. 3. Which method is used to move character body? I guess it's kind of cheating, but that would be move and slide. Okay. 4. What type of physics body should a platform be? That's going to be our static. Static body. And then 5. How can you make rigid body move with a sudden push? Okay, so that would be our. This is the specific memory stuff that always ends up asking. That would be. I know we literally just looked it over a few seconds ago. It's some velocity. Using a all to the velocity property. I cannot remember its format, its name. Let's just give it that. We got an 80. We got an 80. So you see the, excuse me, our last grade here. Where was it? Our last quiz. Where did our last quiz go? It's a little further up, right? Yeah, this is before. Oh, we went through a lot. Yeah. This is how it graded it last time, and this is how I want it to grade again. It did not give us the same context. It didn't give us the same context. Actually, since we want to save it, let's do this. It did give us the same context because of how long the session's been going on and the differentiation of when we started and kind of where we're at now. So we started this morning, 8, 9, 10, somewhere around that time. We left, we did what we needed to do for the day, then we came back. So ChatGPT won't remember that exact context. So it's kind of giving it in a little bit of a different format. And I don't know if I'll like this too much. So I'm going to try and give it the last one. I mean, the tree or the table here isn't too bad, but let's at least see what we did wrong. Or before we do that, please use your previous format for giving me my quiz results. Here, I will paste your answer ANSWR for you to reference. I like this format because it told us what we got wrong and why we got it right, or what we got right, why we got it wrong, things like that. It gave us a little bit more of its reasoning. Okay. So we were correct on the first question of rigid body, simple enough. Correct on the differentiation between rigid body and character 2D. So character 2D is for processing the physics of the character, and rigid body is for objects that can move. Easy enough. Move and slide, that was kind of a cheat, but that's not too bad. It just happened to be in the top box. Our static body, that was simple enough. And apply impulse vectors. We had remembered this from before. Is it going to try and give me both? I think it will. Just to give a quick little breakdown. That's not too bad. As long as it continues to give me the format. Going forward, I would like you to using the quiz. I would like you to go in the quiz format that I referred to in my prior prompt. Yeah. And it looks like it's not keeping the challenge format, so it's going to have us just go in and start coding. And I don't think that's too big of a deal. I think we can try it out. We're probably not going to get very far, but I think we can try it out. I have done the movement left and right before, but I'm not sure if I can recall it from memory. Let's just see what we do, and if we fumble, we can always have it explain step by step, kind of how we did the last time. Okay, so don't need this guy. Okay, don't need this guy. Okay. Now we need to add some physics. Collision. Okay. Let's just make it rectangular. Let's add a sprite too, just so we can see if the thing actually moves. Okay, and apply this here. Okay. How are we going to do this? So we need to declare our inputs. Variable. Let's just see what pops. We get input. No. Well, for now, what I do know we can do is actually set up our quick input map. So it just wants arrow keys left. My arrow key's not working. Let's just go A and D. Yeah, my arrow keys are for some reason. Or, yeah. It's going to do this for now. A, D, spacebar. This is going to be... Oh, actually, I'm doing this all backwards. Let's go left. Let's actually name it first. I was adding the input before giving it the actual nomenclature, actual name. Left, right, jump. Okay, and then we go into here. Let's go left with our arrow key, actually. Go right with our arrow key, and then let's jump with our spacebar. Okay. I do not remember how to call from the input maps. I could always refer to my old script that I use, but we're going to go into our step-by-step method once again. So let's find the earlier challenge. I need to start saving these prompts, but this is the first time I'm going through and learning Godot with this, or this is the first couple sessions of learning Godot with this. So we will in the future start doing that as well. Okay. We need to be significantly further up. Okay, here we go. All right, and now I don't want to read too much into the code. I just want to see what it wants us to do. We're going to need to move our left and right key with spacebar, simulate gravity so the player falls naturally, and prevent infinite jumping by checking the players on the ground. So we need to set up constants. So constants get set this way. I'm assuming constant gravity equals the gravity property. I know we'll have to set a constant for gravity equals, it's probably a float 2.0. refer back, gravity scale. So maybe it is, we set the constant of gravity to 2, but is that pulling the gravity property? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, we needed to set it at speed. So I wasn't too far off there. Constant speed equals... Oh, I was getting ahead of myself with the gravity. We need to actually make the character move. I can also do this as a variable. So the difference between a constant and a variable, constants cannot be changed. Variables can. So if you set a constant as an integer or a string or something like that, it's staying the way it's staying. You can't touch it. Well, it wants us to make constants, so we will do just that. So it's going to move at a speed of 200, const. Let's capitalize it all because it wants us to capitalize it all. Const jump underscore equals velocity equals negative 400 velocity. Okay. And then we would need to do gravity, so I'm guessing we will need gravity. Equals, I don't know what number it would want me to put it at, but let's just do 2.0 for instance. Okay, so once 800. I didn't think about adding speed or the jump velocity either. So I'd never would have got this on my own. And that's kind of why we do this. Let's see. Okay. Please review my code or my script. Okay. Let us see. Oh, we don't want to see. We don't want to see. Right now, our player is floating in midair because because no gravity is being applied. We need to apply gravity every frame so the player falls naturally. So when it starts talking frames, I have a feeling it's going to be bringing up the delta command, or we're going to have to reference to underscore delta. And we have to apply the gravity. So this would be, we're probably going to have to create, I mean, we're definitely going to have to create an actual collision for it, but are we doing that now? Okay, so physics process delta. How did we do physics process earlier? I think I got rid of that. That's okay. The function. Okay. Function underscore physics process delta. So this is going to be our y on our scale, velocity y, plus equals to gravity times delta. And this is going to apply gravity to every single frame. So, you know what, before, I really want to ask about the different colors of the, let's make a quick reminder. Because I tend to, once I get locked in, I tend to miss things. Okay. This is from one of our old sessions. Okay. What do the different within the GDScript editor? And I can get that more detailed when we go later. For now, it's good here. Okay, so velocity.y, this makes the player fall over time. Without this, the player will never fall after jumping. Okay. Oh. So our movement should be always added inside, or our detect player input should always be added inside our physics process delta. I wonder if it would be set as a variable. I know we're going to need to do something like this. Okay, variable. Maybe just input map. What do this? Kind of space this out. So it's going with if statements. This is what I really wanted to know. If input is dot action pressed, what is this bit of script referred as? It's an action of sorts, you know. Obviously, input is action, but I just really want to know what the nomenclature is for it. Like, that's fine. So, I wonder if I can do it underneath here. Just right underneath this bit. No, I already had that copied, so that's okay. Is left. Dot x equals minus speed. So this is referring to our constant from earlier. Okay. Elif. Let's see, let's go right. Input that is action press is both, right? Okay. Else. It's the only thing with a colon. Speaking of colons, I'm missing these guys here. Trying to figure out what my code was. A little wonky. Else velocity x, so else dot x equals 0. Expected indent block after if block. So this definitely needs to be this way. Does this change anything here the way I'm indenting? No. Let me see. If input dot is action pressed parentheses left, which is referring to our input map. We actually did this, right? I'm pretty sure we did. Yep. It's all lowercase. I kept lowercase. Do these need colons as well? No. Expected indent block after if block. What is an indent block? I'm not sure. Here is my code. Two critical mistakes. So this shouldn't matter since I already set the inputs. Oh, did I just miss a whole line of code? Is that all it is? Yeah, I didn't do the elif. That's what's happening here. This shouldn't be UI left, right? Okay, so all this is fine. This here is fine. I'm not really sure what's happening here. It's got to be the way I'm formatting. If action is pressed left, right. It's looking proper. I have the colons after. I have them in quotations. Do I need a space between them? No. Velocity x equals minus speed. I have it. If. It's got to be the way I'm formatting it. Your indentation is correct. You must indent blocks properly under if. Indent everything inside if else indented properly. I feel like it is indented. And we still need this under function. Oops. Maybe we need to take a little indentation class. Oh, it's setting this. Hold on. Hold on. I know what we're gonna do. I know what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play spot the difference real quick. Don't need this bit. So how do I get this kind of indentation? This is our key difference here. This bad boy. I'm indenting with tab. Is that improper? Maybe that's it? Maybe I didn't need the tab in. Maybe this just needs a space. So if is acting like function and constant in this if-else statement. I understand that, at least as far as its indentation is concerned. So this is just spaced out. Hold on. Let's type this thing out again. Input dot is dot action. No, underscore. The rest we go with left. Why is it doing that? I wonder if my IDE is kind of bugged out a little bit, and that's kind of what's going on here. I wonder if I should just save soon. We might have to recreate here, but it won't take too long, to be honest. Let's just restart. Okay, doke here. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. Yep. If input action is pressed, left is a colon. Well, see that x equals minus speed. Oh, did it not load our oh, it's going just right off the character body. But we don't have the new scene. Well, this is what we do. Remove. Get rid of all of this here. Start over. I think some of my my scripts are kind of getting overridden on top of each other, and I've probably done something in the process that just messed it all up. Okay. And I keep saying physics. Okay. Now we are going to make a new script. Name it test 5. Why is it just retaining old? I wonder if this is just kind of a base script that gets provided from. Yeah, this looks like just a base script that gets automatically provided. That's cool. Extends character body. Dude, that gets provided by Godot. Constants. I'm going to try and quickly go through this, and I'm typing it out just for practice. Equals 200. Plus equals minus 400. Equals 800. Okay. Function underscore physics process. We don't care about floating it. We don't really need to float. Okay. So I was tabbing a lot earlier, or maybe I just don't need a tab. Yeah, I just hit enter and it kind of auto tabbed it for me because it's putting it underneath function automatically. Maybe I should just stop trying to make my own indents. Value times. Look at all capitals, very case sensitive. Okay. If input is underscore, I wonder if I was doing that improperly earlier. I wonder if I kept forgetting to put is. Rest quotations left. Make sure it's saved here. Yep. Let's just see if this works. Why? Oh no, what am I doing? What am I doing? Is equals to minus speed. Okay, elif. Input. This needs to be uppercase. Okay. Is underscore action underscore pressed. Right. Input is action pressed right, and then we just set the velocity. Equals 0. And it would seem I'm still improperly indenting, so we're gonna ask it how do I seem to keep having. Can we hey, can we do a quick, can you teach me, can you give a brief of the indentation system and Godot 4 specific Godot 4. Let's just see what we get here. See how long we've been streaming here. I won't be doing a crazy long as we already did a few hours this morning. Crazy long as we already did a few hours this morning. 2 hours in. I think once we get through this challenge, we'll wrap it up for the day. But for the time being, we're going to see what's going on here. How indentation works in GDScript. Each block of code inside an if-else or if, elif, or else statement or function must be indented. Indentation is done with tabs or 4 spaces, not mixed. All indented lines are the same that must match. Example of a corrected indentation. I've been using tabs. This is probably something that's if. I wonder if that would cause any grief. If capitalized dot is underscore action underscore press left. Elif okay. I'm still having a ton of issues with this here. Oh, I forgot to get the scripts. Are not indented properly. Oh, no. Oh, there needs to be columns. Okay. It's fine with the input action names. We've already messed with that, or we already have that set. I shall copy paste this thing. Will get copy pasted perfectly into here. And I just won't know how to recreate it. How do I get it to just do this? Oh, this is very, very tabbed in. Hold on. Just back to my old code. That's what it was. Hold on. Aha. Okay. So I needed one indentation here, one indentation here, and the underlying representative code is a double indentation. Jesus, that took me way too long to figure out. But I like thinking about these things logically and critically to get it done. And, instead of just sitting in front of a class or watching somebody do it, obviously it'll speed up the process and it goes, hey, if you're here, you need a double indent. All right, on to the next. That's fine. But this is teaching me how to solve my own problems within the IDE and within scripting in general. I like to be able to, I solve my own problems better than other people can solve my own problems for me a lot of times, meaning I know how my brain works differently than other people's brains. And for me, this process here, just like I said earlier in the session, this process here is exactly how I learn, trial and error, do it 1,000 times until I master it, until I become the best at it. I like to be competitive as well, so I might not win in the beginning, but we'll get there eventually. Okay. Please review my code. Whoa. Step. Review my code. And it's going to give me an error because of the naming. Yeah, input actions. Okay. Oh, we didn't add our incorrect property modified for left and right movement. Oh, I did velocity y twice. So I need x here for no for the minus speed x here. Wait. What? Hold on. This is what I put is minus speed. And it said, okay, so this needs to be our left movement. Okay, I just got our left and right. X and Y. And then I guess I should just add move and slide. All right, is that just function move and slide? Or just straight up move and slide? Yep, move and slide. Let's use. Oh, I did not drag it in here. Okay. Please review, Professor G. Oh my goodness, we're just getting beat up. What is happening? Okay, input action is fine. It's probably just the move and slide again. I didn't do it properly. What is going on? Minus speed is X. Oh, it wants it both is X. I feel like that's what I had before. I'm very positive that's what I had before. So velocity-wise, they're up and down. X's are left and right. I'm not understanding the distinction. I wonder if it's having issues with its own code here. It's gonna give me the same error back for the... Oh, it didn't tell us to add jump yet. Okay. There we go. Okay. That's fine. We were supposed to add jump earlier, but we got stuck on this process here. We didn't get far enough. The context got kind of broken after reiterating and rehashing the same thing 100 times. But that's not a problem. So let's play with our jump here. Move and slide stays at the bottom. And we'll go 2 down. If input dot action, no, if input dot is underscore action underscore pressed, going space up. I'm going to quote it up, and then I usually mostly ones at the end. Velocity dot y equals jump underscore. I use taboo. We probably got some indentation errors. If it needs to be a capital. Okay. I wonder if we broke our Godot here. Oh no, it just keeps adding further. So it is a little broken right now. We were supposed to do all of these things in order. Yeah, we were supposed to do everything in order from the structure. But I've gotten a little bit lost in the context, and I think so is ChatGPT. So now it wants us to add our grounding of itself. Right now you can jump in from the air because there's no check from the other players on the floor. Is on the floor to allow only jumping. What does is on the floor look like? Oh, we haven't learned how to use is on the floor, so let's just try. Oh no, it did is on the floor previously. I just wasn't paying attention. From first UI, and this is a very cool. I haven't added like a second function into it, so this is combining things. If action is pressed, and if this other thing is happening, is underscore on underscore floor. Boom. Okay. See how that works. This is we've also probably spent 5-6 hours on this today, so our brain is getting a little hazy, a little fuzzy. What did I do wrong here? And is on the floor. What is it saying I did wrong? Is action just pressed? Okay. They don't want us to do just pressed previously? Yeah, just pressed. Let me see what the just pressed means. I mean, obviously I know it happens when it's just pressed, but how is ChatGPT making the distinction? This causes issues because it keeps firing as long as the key is held, meaning the player will be jumping rapidly as long as the key is held down. I mean, I guess that's not too bad of a thing either, if you want something like that, but you just want the jump to go off once when it's jumped. So is action. Let me just add this in here. Just pressed. And it looks like we can do the same thing for just release. So you can press it, but if nothing like I think this would be for like a charge up attack. That'd be kind of cool. Okay, let's see if we got it this time. Oh my goodness, you're getting beat up there. Way worse than the first section. Way worse than the first section. Gravity needs a ground check. It's not on the floor. Yeah, I think it's lost a whole lot of the context, but that's okay. We're still learning. This is, for me, this is awesome. I'm having a great time doing this. It's not too frustrating. It's very simple, very smooth. Obviously, the concepts we're working on are kind of outside of my scope, or I wouldn't even say the concepts, but the use cases for a lot of these codes. You know, it's easy to understand what velocity x means, but where it goes, you know, when to apply it, the actual implementation of our foundational knowledge is kind of the steps we're working on now. If not is on floor, velocity physics function delta. So we're just making this an if statement. So everything stays the same, but we're adding if not under, or wait, where to go? If not is underscore on underscore floor. Okay, then it's going to probably give us another error here. Because we need, let's just copy this. Like so. See what error we're getting. Expected after. Expected colon after if condition. Does he have a colon? Yep. Parentheses, colon. Okay. Expected indent after the if block. And this needs to be a double tab in. Yes. So let me read what that error was again. Expected indent after okay, so I really need to start paying attention to the debugs, or at least understanding the errors a little bit more. That's kind of what just helped me infer what needed to go on. So it's expecting line 8 is like there needs to be another indent here. Why is there no other indent? So I can use that to infer what's going on. Oh, wrong. Oh my goodness. I need this here and this back. Okay. Review my script. I'm just going to keep doing this. We have added our action names to the input map, so there should be no problem. Still generating. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, now we're fully functional. I should have specified this a little earlier so it didn't keep spitting out a lot of craziness. Let's give it a test. First, let us make sure we have it attached properly. Yep. Okay. Why is that doing that? It's still pulling our old. I think it's because those scenes still exist. I just don't have them pulled up here. I just want to test our current scene, and that should just be F6 when I get to it. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so our buddy was moving. Let me add a camera real quick just to see where he's going. Okay. We are a flying. I wonder if it's because there's no boundaries. He just jumps in. Does he even? Let me see here. Hold on. He just goes straight up in the air. I guess I wonder if it's because I don't have a 4 specified. Well, let's go back to our. We'll probably be wrapping up here soon, but I'm gonna just play with debugging a little bit for the next few minutes here. I don't want the asset library. That could be cool for later, though. If not, is on floor. Velocity. Well, I mean, that's it. Jumping logic is triggered immediately. Yeah, this is our problem here with this. Player starting in midair. That's exactly what it is. And I'm not going to get deep into creating the 4 right now. Yeah, that is exactly what it is. So I think we're going to call that today. I appreciate you sticking with me through this. I know it's a little crazy. I'm all over the place, and this is just myself learning. But I hope you can take from it, take some of the errors I'm running into and some of the struggles and problems I'm having, and apply it to yourself and your learning methods and things that you might end up running into. Before we sign off, uh, give your family, friends, loved ones, anybody in your life that you love and you cherish, give them a call, shoot them a text, even if it's just a simple, "Hey, how you doing today?" or "Hey, I want to check in." Give it to them. You know that they're there for a reason. You know, and if you're not talking to them enough, you know, it's there's a lot of things that can happen in life. There's a lot of things that can go on, and a lot of they might not be there forever. So give them a call, check in with them. If you don't have anybody, let me know. I could be your somebody for a little bit. You know, I can talk to you in the comments. Let me know. You can hop on the stream if you need to have somebody to talk to. I'm always open to talking and listening if you need somebody to listen to as well. Um, so let me know what you're thinking about these sessions as they go. The game plan is to improve significantly on the formatting, getting everything done. Right now, I'm just trying to learn, and as we go through, I plan on doing this over the next many months. As we go through, we'll start, adding subtle improvements as far as, new microphones, new video. I eventually want to get my face in it so you guys can see what I'm doing live as well. See the craziness on my face as I'm trying to solve some of these problems. We're going to want to get a couple monitors set up. We just want to make it better for you, the viewer, to process this information and take it in. My speaking, I want to improve as well, just to see if I'm getting my ideas across properly for you. So, any critiques, any criticisms that you have, let me know down below. Shoot me a subscribe, shoot me a like, anything to help me out. I would appreciate it greatly. You have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day, evening, and wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you listening, and we will get to it next time. Thank you very much.